Hello, I'm Dazzling One, and this week I want to discuss the subject matter of dreams. Frequently, I get a lot of emails, messages, and inboxes about people's dreams, and they share them with me because on this channel, since the first upload, I've talked about many of my dreams and how bizarre they were in my beliefs on where they came from. And so I understand that dreams, since the beginning of time, have been explained either one of two ways, either from a more logical, rational basis, which is more common today. It's an interpretation of yourself and your experiences you've been throughout life in your day, and you're replaying them in your mind. There's no such thing as a face in a dream that you haven't seen before, or it is from an external force, something supernatural or paranormal. I see both sides. And as someone who has had my great deal of what some may call paranormal experiences, or just had encounters that are abnormal, I can definitely see where they are influenced by an external force, but I also realize that sometimes dreams are comprised of our experiences from our day-to-day life. So today I just want to go over a list that I got from the Huffington Post. It's top 14 most common dream subjects dreamt, and I want to discuss each one, then add my commentary on what it may be if you look at it from a supernatural angle. Before I get into the 14 types of dream subjects, I first want to discuss the different types of dreams that there are. The first would be daydreams. That is classified as a level of consciousness between sleep and wakefulness. Studies show that you have the tendency to daydream an average of 70 to 100 minutes a day. It occurs during waking hours when you let your imagination carry you away. As your mind begins to wander and your level of awareness decreases, you lose yourself in your imagined scenarios and fantasies. The next I'm going to go into more detail later, but that would be false awakening dreams. The next would be lucid dreams, and I'll also discuss that later as well. Nightmares, which is just any type of disturbing dream. The next would be reoccurring dreams. I'll discuss an example of that later, but it's defined as reoccurring dreams that repeat themselves with little variation in story or theme. These dreams may be positive, but most often they are nightmarish in content. Dreams may reoccur because a conflict depicted in the dream remains unresolved or ignored. Once you find a resolution to the problem, your recurring dream will cease. So it's interesting because when I tell you my example, you'll see just that. And then healing dreams for the dreamer in regards to their health. The ancient Greeks called these dreams prodromic. Many dream experts believe that dreams can help in avoiding potential health problems and healing when you are ill or when you are grieving. Research shows that asthma and migraine sufferers have certain types of dreams before an attack. Your bodies are able to communicate to your mind through dreams. The dreams can tell you that something is not quite right with your body even before any physical symptoms show up. Dreams of this nature may be telling the dreamer that he or she needs to go to the dentist or doctor. If you can understand the language of dreams, your dreams will serve as an invaluable early warning symptom. They can help inform, advise, and heal, which is very interesting. Prophetic dreams. Prophetic dreams, also referred to as precognitive or psychic dreams, are dreams that seemingly foretell the future. One rational theory to explain this phenomenon is that your dreaming mind is able to piece together bits of information, observation that you may normally overlook or that you do not seriously consider. In other words, your unconscious mind knows what is coming before you piece together the same information. So I'm going to give examples of this one as well. Signal dreams. Signal dreams help you how to solve problems or make decisions in waking life, which are just interesting to have. And then epic dreams, also referred to as great dreams, cosmic dreams, or numinous dreams, are so huge, so compelling, and so vivid that you cannot ignore them. The details of such dreams remain with you for years, as if you just dreamt it last night. These dreams possess much beauty and contain many archetypal symbology. When you wake up from such a dream, you feel that you have discovered something profound or amazing about yourself or about the world. It feels like a life-changing experience, which I've had plenty of these, and many of you have told me basically you've had an epic dream or something very vivid. Progressive dreams occur when you have a sequence of dreams that continue over a period of nights. The dream continues where you left off the previous night. Such dreams are problem-solving dreams and help to explore different options and various approaches to a problem, situation, or relationship. I actually know someone who has dreams like this, and it's very odd, but It is interesting. I have had progressive dreams in the same night, but not progressive dreams over a course of days. And then mutual dreams, this is like Twilight Zone kind of thing, are described as such when two people have the same dream. Mutual dreams may be planned, meaning that two people actively work toward achieving one dream scenario or goal. It is a way to improve communication and build trust. Mutual dreams can also be spontaneous. You find out that a friend, a significant other, faraway relative, or someone has had the same dream on the same night as you. Not much study has gone into this phenomenon or mutual dreams, but there is a very strong bond that exists between these two people. And I've only experienced this once with someone, and it was more of a nightmare that I had, but it is really freaky when it's like we saw the same thing in our dreams. So, with that said, number 1 on the list is being chased. So this one is one of the most commonly reported dreams, mostly because the anxiety we feel in the dream is so vivid that it makes it easier for us to remember them. Often the reason for these dreams comes not from the fear of actually being chased, but rather what we're running from. Chase dreams help us to understand that we may not be addressing something in our waking lives that requires our attention. So this is the most common explanation. We're running from some type of duty. We're running from some type of responsibility of sorts. We're not being entirely honest with ourselves. We're pushing something to the back burner. And I could definitely see where that explanation comes from. It makes a lot of sense. However, once again, getting into the supernatural, if you're having dreams where you're being haunted by some type of entity or visited by something and you're consistently trying to get away from it, I don't think it's just you trying to avoid some type of responsibility or duty. I do believe that you may be experiencing one of the stages of possession or demonic oppression, I should say, because whatever spirit is oppressing you in your sleep, it's making itself known to you, and if it's terrorizing you in your sleep, then I would recommend that you pray about it and, if possible, go for spiritual warfare. So the next most common type of dream is water. Water frequently represents our emotions or our unconscious minds. The quality of the water, clear versus cloudy, calm versus turbulent, often provides insight into how effectively we are managing our emotions. So I could see it, the fluidity of water. It's very natural, it's very organic, and a lot of our emotions do go undealt with because of time, because of denial, because of fear. And so oftentimes they manifest in our sleep. That makes a lot of sense. However, once again, through understanding the paranormal, through understanding just studying the marine kingdom, there is also this idea that there is a kingdom in the water spiritually, not physical. Just like there is the strongholds in the air, on the land, there is also strongholds in the sea. And the strongholds in the sea are spirits that influence most of our sexuality. And this is where the idea of incubuses and succubuses come from. Spirit spouses and spirit husbands, mermaids and sirens. And oftentimes with water you find this sexual connection, or you find this connection with a reoccurring figure in your dreams. The next type of common dream subject is vehicles. Whether a car, airplane, train, or ship, the vehicles in our dream can reflect what direction we feel our life is taking and how much control we think we have over the path ahead of us. Can give us the power to make a transition and envision ourselves getting to our destination, or highlight the obstacles we think we are facing and need to work through. Whenever I was having this reoccurring dream, which I'd like to ask all of you who watch this video if you would like to discuss reoccurring dreams, because I've always found it very interesting. Is a reoccurring dream a sign that this may happen in your life? Is it trying to tell you something? But I had a reoccurring dream where I was in a car. Sometimes I would drive it, sometimes someone else would drive it. But it always ended where I was ripped from the car. And so my mom told me to pray about it, but she also told me next time you go to bed, make a conscious decision to confront whatever it is in the car. And so before I went to bed, I decided that that was what I was going to do. I put it in the back of my mind, went away as soon as I made that decision. So I do believe that cars can represent the direction we're going in as well. Or sometimes things can be literal. If any of you guys have ever had a dream that has come to fruition, which is one of the most freaky things, especially if it's an ominous dream. And the sad thing about this is I dreamt about someone before who passed away in the dream situation, and then later on, a year later, that exact same situation played out. And it was very disconcerting to me because I felt as if I should have told that person or their family and warned them, and maybe it could have been avoided. I had like a couple of dreams like that, and then I never had any more, and I was like, I don't want to tell someone I dreamt that you died, or that, this person who's related to you died, so I didn't. But it is very strange when you have dreams that do seem to happen. And it makes you question. Dreams could easily be deeper than just your mind coming up with scenarios. What are the odds your mind is going to come up with a scenario that's actually going to happen? Sometimes they're God-given dreams, and sometimes Satan influences your dreams as well. And just because you have a dream that comes to fruition or a dream that comes true doesn't mean that it's from God. I don't think the dream about the person I saw die was from God. I think it was probably from Satan. But the best thing I should have done was to continually pray for this person, have warned them and their family so they could have prayed. But instead, I didn't do that. I just ignored it, and unfortunately, something did happen. The next dream subject that's most common is people. Seeing other people in your dream often is a reflection of the different aspects of the self. The people in dreams can relate to characteristics that need to be developed. Specific people directly relate to existing relationships or interpersonal issues we need to work through. Dreaming of a lover in particular is frequently symbolic of an aspect of ourselves from which we feel detached. So right there, that explanation, it reminds me of Sigmund Freud and his ideal of self. Ideal that there's the id, that's the basement, or the most primal in nature, the kind that doesn't follow the rules, is troublesome. Oftentimes you'll see the Freudian trio on TV. There's the character who's just like doesn't care, always gets in trouble. Then there's ego, that is the main level. That would be the balance between id, and then the next is the superego, which is the more uptight, is always worried, always follows the rules. And you see this on TV, 3 characters who embody these types of Freudian ideals of self. But also, you see this in a lot of the dream interpretations, considering he is the one that came up with the term subconscious. So when you see people in your dreams, it could be representing parts of yourself. I could see where that holds water, but I also think sometimes, once again, it's literal. Sometimes when I've dreamt of people, it was as if it was a warning, or it was telling me something would happen. And I've had negative dreams about people, even if they seem pretty nice on the surface, and then as soon as I was like, no, that's not going to happen, the person did cross me like the dream told me they would. So I do think sometimes dreams, like I said, can be literal. Sometimes when you dream about people, it's God is trying to tell you something about people and warn you, or Satan is trying to plant ideas about people as well. That's the other flip side to it as well. The next common subject is school or classroom, which makes a lot of sense considering the amount of time that is spent in school or a classroom in a first world country. It's a very common situation for people in dreams to find themselves in a school or classroom, often confronted with a test that they aren't prepared to take. This is a great example of a dream pun, the mind using a word or concept and giving it to a different definition. The lesson or test we face inside the school or classroom is frequently one we need to learn from our past, which is one reason these dreams are often reported by who have long finished school. Oftentimes, when I dream about school, it's not me taking a test. It's more or less that I've already bombed the test, or I'm having some kind of social issues. Some of that I feel could go back to my days in school. I've talked about this before on the channel, where I had kind of a rough time in school growing up from issues with people in school. And then as far as my grades went, I did okay. I could have done better had I applied myself more and not daydreamed all the time. But they also can arise for me because I'm in college, so whenever I'm thinking about, oh, I need to take this test, sometimes I will dream about the test, and that makes sense as well. But sometimes, once again, some scenarios in dreams, if I'm currently in school and I dream about a certain situation in school, sometimes something has happened. But if you're dreaming about school and you've long finished it, then it most likely is more symbolic, I would say, but not always. And sometimes I just think that dreams are random with no meaning. That's a horrible way to look at it, but sometimes I do think they're just random conglomerations of things. Because what if you watch a movie about high school and you go to sleep? You're probably going to dream about high school even if you're 50 years old. The next one is paralysis, which, unknown to most people, the body is actually encountering a form of paralysis during dreaming, which prevents it from physically performing the actions occurring in their dreams. Therefore, dreaming about paralysis frequently represents the overlap between the REM stage and waking stage of sleep. Dreaming about paralysis can also indicate the dreamer feels he or she lacks control in their waking life. So I think what they're getting at here, they didn't put sleep in front of it, but I believe they're talking about sleep paralysis, because every time you Google sleep paralysis, it always says it's when you're caught between waking and REM sleep. Because of muscle atonia, you're not able to move. Having a dream where you're fighting, you don't want to thrash around in your bed, so you're paralyzed and then you're dreaming still, and that's why you hear all of these things that aren't there, all these auditory hallucinations or hypnagogic hallucinations or whatever, right? Well, as someone who's dealt with sleep paralysis since the age of 12, and I'm 21 now, so about 9 years, almost a decade, it's hard to believe, I always found that whenever I was attacked, it was very demonic in nature. It wasn't just a hallucination. I try to think that, but it only went away when I prayed. It didn't go away when I tried to think positive thoughts or just lay there and say, I'm just going to let it pass. No, whenever I prayed, then it went away. And so it leads me to believe that it's not just a occurring process, although I can see why people who have never experienced it, or maybe haven't experienced it frequently enough, because I used to have it happen to me like every day when I was 12 into 13 years old, just like almost on a daily basis. I was so afraid to go to sleep. It was like Nightmare on Elm Street. I did not want to sleep at night because I was worried I was going to have another encounter, lose so much sleep. I would be tired. I would be weak. Every time I'd go to school, I could barely function because I couldn't sleep that night, because I'd be awakened 10 times a night from sleep paralysis. It would just happen over and 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 over again, and it was just horrifying. Now, I really haven't had sleep paralysis, I'd say, in the last few months, so that's a good thing. But I've also have learned more about spiritual warfare and prayer, and I've also removed a lot of things from my life. And even when I was going through sleep paralysis, because I know a lot of people who say it is occultic, say you open some door in your life to let demons or evil influences into your life. And I will say this, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes you consciously do let things into your life. Maybe you watch something you ought not to watch. You played with something you ought not to play with. You dabbled in the occult some way. Other times it's generational, or someone is just simply sending spiritual attacks or psychic attacks. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Now that I'm aware, I'm constantly praying all the time, and it does help. I haven't had any of that in a long time, but I don't think I've gone an entire year since I was 12 without experiencing sleep paralysis at one point or another. And it's usually for me, it's when I'm drifting more from God, or sometimes if I'm getting really close to Him, that's when I have it as well. I see the two sides there. So the next subject that people often dream about a lot is death. Although death is often perceived as negative, often more directly related to dramatic change happening for the dreamer, the end of one thing in order to make room for something new. And when they say death, I wonder if they mean you see the death of someone else, or you die in your dream. And then this is another question I have in speaking about death. How many of you guys out there dream in third person? How many of you dream in first person? Whereas you see yourself going through the things as if you're not yourself, or you're observing yourself in your dream, or you're someone else going through the things, or you're watching someone else go through some situation like you're watching a movie. And then how many of you are yourself and you're going through it, or suddenly you're someone else but you're still in first person? To me, that's a little complex in itself. But with death, the few dreams I've had of death, I shared the one where I dreamt someone died and they actually did die later on, which is very ominous, and I hope to never dream about another person who dies and actually dies again, because that would just be awful. But I've also had dreams of my own death. I've shared one of them, I believe, on the channel a few times, and with that one, it's like I died and then I was reborn immediately after. And that one had a marine connection because I went under the sea, and I discussed it before, so I'm not going to go into detail. And that one I felt was more demonic. And then another one I had, I almost died, but I didn't. And I had a few dreams where I've been attacked to the point of near death, but I didn't die. Like I got stabbed a bunch of times, or I've even been eaten. It's terrible. I've had some pretty violent dreams, and it's just awful. And you would think, since I had so many violent dreams, maybe I've been watching a lot of stuff like that. But usually when I dream these kinds of dreams, that's when I'm not watching any TV. I'm basically separated from everything. I'm not engaging in almost anything, and those are when the dreams bother me the most. It's not when I'm saturated in television and music and media. Those are usually not the times I have those dreams. The other time I actually did die in my dream, once again, I was reborn. Like I felt my heart stop, every internal organ in my body fail, and then like I basically rose back up. So this idea that I heard before, that if you die in your dream, you die for real, clearly isn't true. I mean, I haven't died for real. If I have died for real from my dreams, I would be dead 2 times now. But at the same time, it could mean something about making room for more or whatever, but sometimes I think it's ominous, especially if you have a reoccurring dream you die in a certain way. And so, if that were the case, I would pray about it, and I wouldn't just say, oh, it means make room for something more, because sometimes dreams can be literal, and sometimes dreams are symbolic, and sometimes dreams are just, like I said once again, amalgamation of a bunch of stuff that you took in throughout the day, and now you're replaying it in your head. So the next common type of dream is flying. And I've always kind of been envious of people who have flying dreams, because I've never had like an actual dream where I'm flying. I always thought that would be cool. And so flying in a dream, and how effectively or poorly it's done, relates to how much control we feel we have in our lives, and whether we are confident able to achieve our goals. High flying is one of the most euphoric dreams imaginable, while flying or skimming low to the ground or being caught in obstacles like power lines can be immensely frustrating. So most people I know have told me they've flown in their dreams, and they tell me, yeah, it is euphoric. They love it. I don't really know anyone who's been caught in power lines in their flying dream. That wouldn't be a very good dream. But it does seem like a really cool dream to have. I don't really know what it means if you're flying in your dream. I mean, that could definitely, but I have had dreams where I wasn't flying, but I levitated against my will, and those were demonic in nature because, like I said, I rose up, but it wasn't like I was flying or getting to control it. It was like I just levitated against my will, and I could feel this evil around me. So that was once again a demonic attack, or some kind of dream parasite coming in and influencing my dreams. In between this and the next one of falling, I just kind of want to talk about really fast lucid dreaming, false awakening, and astral projection, because all of that kind of ties into these two, flying and falling. So I know a lot of people write me all the time or leave comments, or have just told me in my personal life, I've had dreams where I've astral projected, or I've astral projected. I guess it's not a dream if you believe in astral projection. This idea that you can leave your body and your spirit can float around and it can see everything. And I've heard some outrageous claims of what people have been able to do on the astral plane. Some people claim that people involved in witchcraft sometimes astral plane to attack whomever their target is. And in black magic, sometimes they're energy ripping. And I discussed this in the black magic video I did, where someone will send or direct negative energy at a person they want to disturb or makes life miserable until they commit suicide, go crazy, or die in some kind of unfortunate way. And with that, some people will astral project to the room themselves. I've also heard of people claiming that there are people who astral project so they can have sex with someone in their sleep, kind of like an incubus or succubus spirit does. And astral projection in itself is kind of a mind trip, but I also believe it's possible. And I've never done it. I've never incidentally done it. I've had a lot of strange experiences, but astral projection is not one of them. I would be weary of trying to purposely astral project. I know some people say they find themselves doing it accidentally, and if you do, I mean, you can't control that you're astral projecting. But I would recommend get back into your body as fast as possible, because it's the same idea if you left your house unlocked and you had all your valuable possessions in it, and you know there's someone that could easily come in there and rob it. You wouldn't want to do the same thing with your body, because it's my belief that our body and our soul are separate. However, our body houses our soul. And so our body, it's physical. It needs sleep. It needs rest. It needs nutrients. Whereas our soul, it's spiritual. It lives on. And because of that, it doesn't need sleep. It doesn't need food. It doesn't need rest. And this is why some people are spiritually unhealthy or spiritually dead, yet they are physically fit, physically alive. People who have never had a supernatural experience or don't believe, it's going to be almost impossible for them to believe unless they actually have an experience. And even then, they could chalk it up to some type of phenomenon and move on with their life. And so with astral projection and all, once again, and with sleeping, your body needs rest, but your soul doesn't. So when you're sleeping, your soul basically is in the 5th dimension, I believe, is the belief by some cultures, or you're dreaming, you're in another dimension while your body is resting. And this is where a lot of our dreams come from and why they're so strange. And with the black magic thing, as I was talking about energy ripping, this is why oftentimes you wake up sick, you wake up with negative emotions, and it only gets worse throughout the day. And sometimes you don't remember what you dream, but basically your energy is being sucked or psychic attacks are being sent your way. Before I go into that, also, I just wanted to talk about lucid dreaming really quick too, because that is in relation to into flying and falling. So a lot of people who are able to lucid dream, which I've been able to do it unintentionally. It's something that I've never intentionally set out to do. It's just like I've suddenly been lucid in my dreams, realized it, and whenever I lucid dream, it's like, it's always when I'm going through a rough time in life where I'm pretty ticked off at someone, and then suddenly in the dream, I have the perfect opportunity to get revenge on that person, right? And then as soon as I try to exact revenge, it's like I go into sleep paralysis and it's a complete attack. Now, I have heard stories of people who've lucid dreamed. They've flown, they've had a good time. Some people have even had sex in their lucid dreams and all of that, but I've never had a positive experience. It's always been pretty demonic, and I'm not sure how I feel about lucid dreams entirely. I would stay far away from them if you don't have them. If you do have them, I would make sure not to let any kind of temptations or negative emotions taint you in your lucid dream, because it could be a trap as well. And then any of you who have had the dream where you woke up within a dream and you basically dreamed within dreams, kind of like Inception, which I hate those because they're scary and you want to get out of them, and it feels like you keep waking up and you can't get out of it. I've had one which is really creepy where I've woke up, I got out of bed, I did all this stuff, like I talked to people in the house and everything, and then I woke up and I realized I hadn't done any of that because I asked everyone, did I talk to you, did I sleepwalk, and no one saw me doing anything, so that was creepy too. But yes, dreams within dreams, or false awakening is the more technical term. So back to the subject of dreams and the different common types. Falling is the next one. Not all falling dreams are scary and negative. Some dreamers report a type of slow falling that indicates serenity and the act of letting go. Often, falling uncontrolled from a great height indicates something in waking our life that feels very much out of place. So I could see where falling fits into this. I'm not really sure what falling represents, but I do know so many people who have told me, like everyone I know has had the dream where they fall and then they jerk awake. I don't really have dreams like that. I have the really weird ones, because every time I tell them my dreams, like, wow, your dreams are really weird. I wonder why you dream that, and theirs are all the same. Doesn't sound like a fun thing to experience, and I don't envy anyone who's had a falling dream and jerked awake. But I have had dreams where I have jerked awake, but it wasn't because I fell, it was because of something else. So, nudity in a dream. That's number 10. Emotional or psychological exposure or vulnerability is often expressed in dreams through nudity. The body part that's exposed can give more insight into the emotion that our dreams are helping us to understand. And I know so many people have said they've dreamt that they showed up at school naked or work, or that suddenly they just were naked or in their underwear. Once again, not something I've dreamt before. I mean, anytime if I've ever been in that position, it wasn't because I was accidentally there. Doesn't sound like a fun dream to have. I would say that could make a lot of sense, but if it is sexual in nature, then it goes in another direction as well, and I'll get to that. And then number 11 is baby. I wouldn't have guessed baby because, once again, I don't dream about babies often. The few times I have, it was very vague. The common interpretation for that is dreaming of a baby often represents something new. It might be a new idea, new project at work, new development, or the potential for growth in a specific area of our waking life. And I could definitely see where that comes in. Once again, this goes back to the Marine Kingdom talk a little bit. Some people because of incubus and succubus attacks, they dream of the same man or woman being their boyfriend or girlfriend or lover or husband or wife or whatever, and this person isn't their spouse or their boyfriend or girlfriend. Some of these people are single. They've been single for years. Some of these people might not even have had a lover to begin with. And some people would just be like, oh, they're lonely and that's why they're dreaming this. But it's kind of creepy to have a dream relationship. Like if you're dreaming, like every time you go to sleep, your boyfriend is in your sleep or your girlfriend is there, I would kind of question, why is that happening? It's not normal. It's probably an incubus or succubus or a spirit spouse or a spirit wife or husband. And when this happens, a spirit pretty much tries to create a soul tie with you through sleep. Sometimes they do this by marrying you in your dream if you've ever dreamt of a wedding. Sometimes they do this by having sex with you in your dreams to create a covenant with you. And spirits that want to have a relationship with you in your sleep isn't necessarily because they want you like a man or woman who is in love with you would want you. They want you for control. You have something that they want. Sex is one of the best ways to exchange energy. I'll get into that a little bit later. But with babies, it's the same thing. If you're dreaming about having the same child all the time, it's a little bizarre that you keep seeing the same baby. Some people would say, oh, this is what my future kid is going to look like. Now, I understand if you miscarried and you dream about your baby because that's only natural, or if your child died or something, but to continually see the same baby is a little weird. But if you have a baby dream once or something, I don't know if I necessarily link it to some kind of demonic oppression. Or the next idea is food, and this one's funny, but food symbolizes energy, knowledge, or nourishment, and is directly related to our intellect, emotions, and spirituality. Food can also be a manifestation of idioms like food for thought, and reveal that we may be hungry for new information and insights. I could definitely see where food's interpretation could go there. Also reminds me, once again, looking at this from a different angle than the commonly accepted angle. On Sleepy Hollow Season 1, on the finale I believe, they were in purgatory, and one of the warnings they had was not to eat anything they were offered in purgatory, because it could lead to something very detrimental. And this is the way I view eating in your sleep as well. There's really no reason why you should eat a cheeseburger in your sleep. It's not like it's going to nourish your body. It's not like you're going to feel fuller when you wake up. It's a little creepy actually if you think about eating in your dreams. Every time I've come close to eating, I've waken up before I could eat, and I was always like, darn it, I wish I could have eaten. Or a few times I have eaten something, it's always a food or something that I would not generally eat. For instance, I just turned 21, and before the age of 21, I wasn't drinking at all. I had my first drink a couple weeks ago. So with that, when I was like 18 or 19, I was dreaming about drinking, and I don't really hang out with people that drink, so it was kind of weird that I would dream that I was drinking wine a lot, and I would always be hanging out with these people I did not know. Like, they don't exist as far as I know. And it was a little creepy because I felt like each time I was eating or drinking, it was almost like it was a spiritual exchange, and it kind of goes back to Sleepy Hollow, whenever they weren't eating and suddenly whatever familiar face had offered them the food morphed into a demon or some type of evil spirit and attack them. I feel like when you eat in dreams, you're like not really communing with people you know in your dreams, you're communing with something else. So that's another thing. Like, you don't want to eat in your dreams because I do believe it's another area of transference of sorts. So the next most commonly dreamt about subject is house. Houses frequently represent the dreamer's mind. Different levels or rooms may relate to different aspects of the individual dreamer in different degrees of consciousness. Basement often represents what has been neglected or what the dreamer is not aware of in his or her waking life, while bedroom relates to intimate thoughts and feelings, those closest to the dreamer's core self. So definitely see the Freudian influence in this interpretation. I could see where, though, they go with this, because you would think basement, you don't go there very often, neglect, and bedroom, personal, most intimate things. So if you're dreaming about your house and whatever's happening in that room probably is something in your life you should examine. Definitely see that interpretation. And once again, going literal. I would say if you're dreaming someone is trying to break into your home, you should be wary of certain people in your life at that moment, or be on the alert because someone may enter your life who may be damaging if they're trying to barge into your house. Also, sometimes it could be, once again, spiritual, and just like vampires, they say, let me in. You have to let in whatever spirit into your life in some shape or form, and sometimes this is done in your dreams. Sometimes this is done by opening doors. If you're dreaming someone is trying to get in, I would be very aware of who or what that is. And so, with that said, number 14, the last subject I will discuss, is sex. So, sex in dreams can simply be an outlet for sexual expression, but dreams about sex can also symbolize intimate connections with one's self and others, and the figurative integration of new information. So I could definitely see where they're going with the sex thing. It sounds a little strange, talking about new information from sex, but at the same time, once again, I do take the approach where sex in dreams oftentimes, just like food, why do you need to have sex in your dreams? Just like why do you need to eat? And most people would say it's subconscious, it's on your mind, you're just expressing some form of yourself with it. Whereas I'm saying that potentially it could be something linked to something demonic, like an incubus, a succubus, because many people, especially who go through sleep paralysis, report waking up and they have the old hag or an incubus or a succubus spirit on top of them, or they have the same spirit visiting them, a spirit spouse. And so with that, like I was saying earlier, sex can be a transference of energy. This is why there's sex magic rituals, because it's a belief that whomever you're having sex with, what is on them transfers to you. So if they have something you want, something spiritually, you can take that from them through sex in the dream, or you can take that through them in sex in person. This is why some people in the occult will seek out people to have sex with to gather energy, and it can work if the person is aware of that. And so that is pretty much it for what I'm going to say about dreams. Hope that it sheds some insight on both the more accepted view of what each of these common aspects of dreams mean, and also I was able to shed some insight into what they can mean from a supernatural angle. Have a wonderful week, and God bless.